Okay, we're here with Speaker or former Speaker Bill O'Brien of New Hampshire at one of the Trump inaugural parties. Speaker O'Brien, happy day for Republicans in New Hampshire and elsewhere.
Oh, it sure is. You know, we have a great probably 8 years in front of us with President Trump, and then we're hopeful that we'll have a Republican follow-on president after that.
And of course, here in New Hampshire, a Republican won the governorship, and you hold, I believe, both houses now?
We do. We have the New Hampshire Senate, the New Hampshire House. We have a majority in another group or another organization that most states don't have, a governor's council. It's important to us here because they're the group that confirms most judges, most executive appointments. We have a majority there as well.
So looking very good. Other than the federal reps, New Hampshire's looking pretty strong for the Republicans.
But fortunately, we have a great Congress too, don't we? We have a Republican House. We have a Republican Senate. I think we have a really dynamic leader in President Trump. I think he's going to probably lead them to some great legislation.
Now, we've seen already President Trump confound the left, even with his inaugural speech, repeating the themes of his campaign, and the media seemed very surprised that he said what he said, as if, oh my God, he really means all these principles that he was talking about.
And he does, doesn't it? And that's just confounding to the press. I think we're going to be experiencing over the next 4 years, again, probably 8 years, a press that's very angry, that's going to return to the themes we've heard in the past when they try to tear down conservatives and Republicans. We're going to discover that there's homelessness in America again. There hadn't been, obviously, any for the last 8 years. We're going to discover that there's income inequality in America. Of course, there hasn't been any for the last 8 years. We're going to discover all these themes surfacing again, intended to tear down a Republican. And you know what's not going to happen this time? We're going to have a Republican president who's going to push back, and people are listening to him.
Now, speaking of pushing back, both you and I were supporters of Ted Cruz in the primaries. You were one of his co-chairs here in New Hampshire, and we've already seen Senator Cruz run interference for, at the time, President-elect Trump, meaning that we're very lucky to have him in. I think the president's going to find himself very lucky to have Ted Cruz in the Senate running interference.
You know, I've been at this game of politics now for a number of years, and one of the things I've always told people is that in primaries, you vote your heart. My heart's with Ted Cruz. I think he'd be a great president. I think he will be a great president someday. But when it comes to the general election, you vote your mind. You vote for the best candidate. And clearly, we have chosen a great candidate as president. President Trump will do a great job for us. I do believe that Senator Cruz, I already know he's supporting his efforts in Congress. I think there's going to be a lot of folks like me who will do what we can, big or small, to support his efforts over the next 4 years.
All right, and do you see the New Hampshire representation in the House in the midterm elections when it's not a presidential year? What do you think the chances are of New Hampshire sending Republicans back to the House this time?
It depends what House you're talking about. The New Hampshire House.
The House of Representatives in Congress.
Yeah. I think we have a real opportunity. We really do. I don't think we had candidates that are as strong as they could have been. I think when President Trump has some successes, like replacing Obamacare with a much more market-oriented health care plan, when he has other successes in reasserting America's position in the world, I think people are going to look at it and say, you want to know what? We need more of that. And in New Hampshire, that means we don't need 2 Democrat U.S. senators. We don't need to have our 2 House representatives be Democrats. I can see that in the first CD with Carol Shea Porter, her days are numbered. In the second CD with Congresswoman Custer, she's so far out of sync with New Hampshire. I can see that her days are numbered as well.
Do you see any prospect of changing some of the laws? I mean, I believe you have Election Day registration, which prompt, shall we say, some northern movement from Massachusetts on Election Day into New Hampshire.
Yeah, so we have same-day registration, and I think it's a real problem. You know, I was just talking with some folks at the party here, talking about a little town that I used to represent by the name of Temple. Has around 300, 350 voters that are registered when it goes into a presidential election year, and comes out with around 600. And a lot of those are folks that don't really seem to have New Hampshire licenses, don't know much about Temple, but they do know they want to vote in a election where they might be able to affect it in New Hampshire. We've got to move away from same-day registration. It's not required. If we do have to allow for registration under the federal motor voter law. But you know what we can do as well is shut down registrations a couple of weeks before the election, and then look at who showed up, and do they really live in New Hampshire? Are they really domiciliaries, residents of New Hampshire? And if that's the case, we're going to find that we have much better elections. You know, Kelly Ayotte lost by a couple thousand votes. She wouldn't have lost at all if we had had registration that was shut off a couple of weeks beforehand, so we could see who's actually registered.
Well, Speaker O'Brien, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the party.
Okay, thank you.